So welcome to financial aid. This is the financial aid presentation, and you can put in your questions. Please use the Zoom Q&A box to type in your questions anytime throughout the presentation. We're happy that you're here. Go Lions! Today's host, I'm your host. My name is Jennifer Bond. I'm the Associate Director of Graduate and Professional Programs. And joining me today is Jesse Portillo. He's our financial aid counselor, and he's going to help me with the Q&A questions as you type them in. Feel free to type them in as the presentation is ongoing. Also, toward the end, we'll allow a few minutes for anyone that wants to ask a question out loud. And if you have a question of a more personal nature, feel free to send me an email. Jesse's going to put it in the chat box for you, and we can set up a phone appointment, or I'm happy to email you back, whichever works for you. So let's dive right in here. So today's topics, we're going to talk about the definition of financial aid, what it is. We're going to talk about applying for financial aid and eligibility. We're going to go over the types of financial aid. We're going to go over the cost of attendance, and then we'll go over a few helpful tips you can walk away with, and hopefully it will help you as you make your decisions. And then we'll put up our contact information for you to get a hold of us in case you have additional questions. So the definition of financial aid, what is it? Financial aid is an umbrella term that includes any funds that do not come from you. So it would include gift money from grants or scholarships that do not need to be repaid. So that's the best type of financial aid that a student can receive is gift money, a grant or scholarship, because it doesn't have to be repaid. It also includes loans borrowed from a bank, Department of Education, from a lender, and you usually have to pay that back with interest. It also includes work awards, which is money earned as payment for a job on campus or off. And where does it come from? It comes from the state, the federal government, the university, and from private sources like an employer, a church, or a scholarship foundation. So how do you apply for financial aid? Now, we're talking about federal aid. How do I apply for federal aid, for federal loans and federal grants? The first step is to complete the FAFSA. I know that a lot of you did that as undergraduate students, and it's the same process, and you have to do it once a year. Now, for students who plan to begin in the spring of 2025 or summer of 2025, you should complete the FAFSA that's dated 24-25, the 24-25 academic year. Students who plan to attend in the fall of 2025 or begin in the fall of 2025, you'll complete the FAFSA for the 25-26 academic year. The 25-26 academic year is not available yet, but I believe it's going to be up on their website beginning in December. So what is the FAFSA? Why do you have to complete it? Well, the FAFSA helps universities determine the student's eligibility for financial aid, for federal financial aid and state aid. To complete it, you must create an FSA ID, and username and password before you're able to complete it. And I think most of you already have completed one. If you completed one or created one as an undergraduate student, it would be the same ID number. You would not need to create a new one. The income that you use for the 24-25 FAFSA is based on your 2023 income taxes. And LMU school code is 001234. Super easy to remember. The FAFSA must be completed once a year. It's not a one-time thing, just like you did as an undergrad. Also, we encourage all students to complete and submit their department's scholarship application, and we're going to go over that a little more in the next few slides. So how do you qualify for federal aid or state aid? Not state aid, actually federal aid. We'll talk about state aid in a minute. You must be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. You must have a high school diploma or equivalent. You must have a valid Social Security number, and you must be enrolled in an eligible degree-seeking program or eligible non-degree credential program. And you must be enrolled at least half-time. For graduate degree-seeking students, half-time is considered 3 units. For non-degree credential students, half-time is 6 units or more. And to continue to be eligible, you must maintain satisfactory academic progress, which is also called SAP. And you cannot be in default on federal student loans or federal grants from your undergraduate days or if you attended another graduate program. So let's talk about federal grants. There is a TEACH grant. The federal TEACH grant is available to those that are going into the teaching field. It provides up to $4,000 a year to students who are completing or plan to complete coursework needed to begin a career in teaching. To be eligible, you must complete a FAFSA, and you must be a U.S. citizen, and then you must sign the TEACH agreement to serve that specifies the conditions under which the grant will be awarded. And you'll do all this on studentaid.gov, which is the same area where you complete the FAFSA. Part of the requirements is that you must teach in a high-need field at an elementary or secondary school that serves students from low-income families, and you must work for 4 complete academic years within 8 years after completing your course of study. An important thing to note about the federal TEACH grant is if you do not meet the requirements of your service obligation, all TEACH grants you receive will be converted to direct unsubsidized loan from the day that the federal TEACH grant dispersed to your account. But again, it is a great program for those that are planning on going into the teaching field. This is a great program because it's a grant, so it is money that you would not have to be, that does not have to be repaid. So going on to other grants, there are California state grants. Also for those that plan to go into the teaching field, there is something called the Cal Grant TCP, which stands for Teaching Credential Program. It's available to newly admitted graduate students who within the last 15 months were undergraduates and received a Cal Grant. If you are planning on going into the teaching field, you may be eligible for an additional year of Cal Grant funds. To apply, you complete Form G44 and you return it to the California Student Aid Commission, or CSAC, and you have to complete the FAFSA as well. Now, this is only available to those students who received a Cal Grant as undergraduates and within the last 15 months. So if you have, like a really long gap between your undergrad and grad that's more than 15 months, you may not be eligible. Another great program for those that plan to go into teaching is the Golden State Teacher Grant Program. And this is a one-time award of up to $10,000. To be eligible, students must submit a FAFSA or a California Dream application. So for those students that have submitted California Dream applications during their undergraduate years, you may be eligible for this grant if you plan to go into the teaching field. You must be working towards a preliminary teaching or pupil personnel services credential, and you must commit to work at a priority school in California for 2 years. You must maintain good academic standing. To apply, you go to gstg.csac.ca.gov. Again, these are grants. So, these are great opportunities for anyone that's planning on going into the teaching field. You want to make sure that you explore these. Okay, so let's talk about other grants and scholarships. LMU does offer grants and scholarships to graduate students. To apply, you would submit your department's scholarship application, and every college or program has their own scholarship application, and you will find that on our webpage at financialaid.lmu.edu, and you'll go under types of available aid, and you'll see the applications in that section. We also want to mention that students should be applying for outside scholarships. Outside scholarships are free monies awarded by outside organizations or private donors that you do not have to repay. Applying for outside scholarships is a great way to minimize your out-of-pocket expenses. But keep in mind that when applying for scholarships online, it's essential that you make sure that you are submitting your information over a secure site. You should never have to pay a site for applying for a scholarship. If any site ever requests that you pay them, I would not trust that site. And some of the websites that are credible are collegeexpress.com, scholarships.com, fastweb.com, the College Board, scholarshippoints.com. Those are some websites that you can visit to apply for legitimate scholarships. I'm not saying these are the only sites, but these we know are legitimate websites that you can apply. Once you become an LMU student, you can apply for outside scholarships on the LMU scholarship portal. It's called Scholarship Universe. It is a matching scholarship system that maximizes your scholarship opportunities. Students will create an academic profile, and the more information you provide, the Universe portal, after you create your own personal login, it starts matching you to scholarship opportunities that you could apply for. So you want to make sure that once you become an LMU student, that you go into Scholarship Universe and you begin applying. What I love about Scholarship Universe is that it sends you reminders if you begin an application and you don't complete it. It will send you a reminder letting you know, hey, this scholarship is still here waiting for you. It sounds like you qualify. Make sure that you complete the application process. Okay, so now let's get into the loans. Let's talk about the various loans that are out there available for graduate students. Let's talk about the unsubsidized loan. I'm sure that many of you have already heard of the Federal Direct Unsubsidized Loan. It is available to graduate degree-seeking students and eligible non-degree credential students. Degree-seeking students can borrow up to $20,500 for the academic year. The academic year at LMU runs fall, spring, and summer. So summer is a trailer to the academic year. Non-degree credential students can borrow up to $12,500 for the academic year. Students must be enrolled at least half-time, and the aggregate loan limits are listed right here: $138,500 for graduate students, $57,500 for non-degree credential students that are considered independent, and $31,000 for non-degree credential students who are considered dependent. Graduate degree-seeking students are always independent students. It doesn't matter if you still live with mom and dad are helping you through your college career. It doesn't make a difference. You are considered an independent student. Non-degree credential students are a little different because they are not in a graduate degree-seeking program. They are considered fifth-year undergrads and have different limits. That being said, the current interest rate for the federal direct loan, unsubsidized loan, is 8.08 with a loan fee of 1.057. Interest begins accruing on the date the loan is dispersed, not the date it's awarded to you and not the date that you accept it. It's the date it's actually dispersed to your student account. Students must complete a master promissory note and entrance counseling, and you'll do that on studentaid.gov. Let's talk about the Graduate Plus Loan. The Graduate Plus Loan is available to graduate degree-seeking students, but it's not available to non-degree credential students, unfortunately. And students may borrow up to the cost of attendance minus any other aid they've received, such as the unsubsidized loan and scholarships or grants and work awards. Now, this loan is a credit-based loan, so you must be credit eligible. Doesn't mean that you have to have perfect credit, but it just means that you have to have, decent credit. You must be enrolled at least half-time, and that's true for all the loans all the federal loans. The current interest rate is 9.08 with a loan fee of 4.228. The interest rate is fixed annually and begins accruing on the date the loan is dispersed. Again, not the date it's awarded and not the date it's accepted. You must complete a separate master promissory note, MPN, and entrance counseling for this loan. So each loan has its own master prom note and their own entrance counseling, and you'll do it again on studentaid.gov. So I want to talk about the benefits of federal direct loans before I get into the private alternative loans. We always encourage students to go the federal direct loan route first, if they're eligible, before considering a private alternative loan. And the reason is because the interest rate is fixed annually in June, so it doesn't fluctuate. No credit history is needed for the unsubsidized loan. No cosigner is needed for the unsubsidized loan. And many times the interest rate is lower than private loans. And it doesn't fluctuate. Again, it's set. They offer a repayment grace period, which means that you can, when you start making your payments after you complete your course of study, of 6 months. So they give you 6 months to start your payments. They also give you forbearance options, deferment options, and various repayment options, including income-driven repayment plans. which you will very likely not get with the alternative loan. They also offer loan forgiveness. If you work in certain fields, you may be eligible to have some portion of your loan forgiven. And to learn more about the programs, you can visit studentaid.gov/forgiveness. And to look at the various, or to review the various repayment options, you can go to studentaid.gov/plans. Okay, so let's talk about the other loan options that are available to graduate students and non-degree credential students too. These loans are private. They are by private commercial lenders like Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, Sallie Mae. They are not supported by the state or the federal government. We encourage students to carefully evaluate repayment terms and conditions to be informed borrowers. These loans require a credit check. They have maximum loan amounts, different repayment plans, and interest rates will vary. And they may be variable too, which is something for you to consider and just to review really carefully, because they could offer you a very low interest rate to start, and then the interest rate could balloon later. So just make sure that you're reviewing the terms of these loans if this is the route that you decide to go. Because of the Truth in Lending Act, these loans can take longer to disperse than the federal direct loans. Work award. Yes, you can work. Graduate students interested in part-time positions as graduate assistants, research assistants, or teaching assistants can search for available positions on studentAffairs.lmu.edu/activities/SES. Students can earn between $2,000 and $3,200 per academic year. And you can have your paycheck deposited directly into your student account to help with your tuition expenses, or you can just have a paycheck directly deposited to your bank account so that you can use it toward educational expenses. So let's talk about the cost of attendance. Because there's a little confusion about the cost of attendance. I know I was confused when I first started college as to what it was. So the cost of attendance is a college's total estimated expenses for 1 year. And just keep in mind that they're estimated, including tuition, housing, food, books, supplies, transportation, federal loan fees, and miscellaneous expenses. A school's cost of attendance is used to determine each student's eligibility for financial aid, such as grants, scholarships, and loans. So the example that I provide here is for a student in the School of Education, taking 6 units per term for fall and spring, not summer. So the direct expenses, because tuition is at $1,632 per unit, for the academic year would be $19,584. The graduate fees would be $200. So your total direct expenses would be $19,784. The $19,784 is what is charged to your student account and what you have to pay. The indirect expenses is an estimation of what it could cost you. So it's not really something that is charged to you or that you have to pay. It's just an estimation of what it could cost you to attend university, LMU, for 1 academic year. And the indirect expenses consist of food and housing of $27,447, books and supplies of $1,062, transportation of $1,962, personal and miscellaneous expenses of $4,968, and loan fees of $1,202. So the two combined, the direct expenses and the indirect expenses, would total $56,425 for the academic year, not including summer. And this is the amount that a student is able to borrow up to. $56,425. They can receive financial aid up to that amount if they are taking 6 units per term. And the financial aid would be any grants or scholarships, work awards, any loans. You could not borrow above that $56,425. We encourage students to borrow only what they need, because borrowing loans, it is money that you have to repay. So we encourage students to only borrow what they need. Now, your cost of attendance may be higher depending on your program of study and unit enrollment. You can see the cost of attendance by college on our website at financialaid.lmu.edu. /graduate/graduate cost of attendance. So just a few things to remember is to check your email frequently. Loan borrowers, don't forget to complete the master promissory note and entrance counseling for each loan that you decide to borrow. You want to complete your department's scholarship application and submit it as soon as possible. You want to register our email, vinaid@lmu.edu, with your spam checker to make sure our emails don't go into your spam folder. And you want to ask questions and research online. And don't wait, contact us. We are here to help you in any way that we can. If we do not answer your question tonight, we are always available by phone or by email. Feel free to reach out to us and we will find the answer for you. And if we can't, we will at least direct you as to someone that can definitely assist you. Because I know there are so many questions that students have when they're beginning their graduate career. So our contact information, our email address is vinaid@lmu.edu. Our telephone number is listed there with our fax number. You can follow us on Twitter and our website, financialaid.lmu.edu. You're welcome to email or call our office. Our office is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we always have a counselor that's available to assist students.